Each month I do a quick behind-the-scenes look at my efforts to build Science Mom into a career. So here's a recap of June 2017, 6 months after starting. On June 1st, I posted Science Mom's Guide to Water Part 5. I just completed a massive outreach effort of teaching more than 100 science lessons as a volunteer in my community, and I expected Part 5 to have more views than the previous video, Part 4. But it didn't. Science Mom's Guide to Water Part 4 had about 55 views the first day and then dropped to just a couple views per day not long after that. And after more than 2 months of effort to grow my channel, Science Mom's Guide to Water Part 5 had fewer views. On one level, I realized this was not a catastrophe. School was getting out, and this was a crazy time of year to try and reach the demographic of students and teachers that I consider to be my primary audience. And I was posting videos roughly once a month with no predictable schedule, which wasn't going to promote growth as much as posting on a weekly schedule would. But besides all that, 50 views was nothing to be disappointed about. It represented a lot of people who had learned something from my video, and that was great. This is what my rational side said. But on a more emotional level, I felt like I just realized I was sprinting in a hamster wheel, where the faster I ran, the more I stayed in place. I'd taught 100 lessons. I'd driven over 400 miles just commuting to the schools I visited. I'd printed and then given away more than 1,000 foldable books. I had such high hopes about this being the turning point financially. And yeah, I started to get seriously worried that our family budget was going to fire me from the Science Mom hobby if I didn't figure out a smarter way to grow my business. And so I spent a day thinking, how can I save this video? As if it were a sentient thing that was suffering because it didn't have as many views as its predecessor. I made a 1-minute trailer for my Science Mom channel, and I posted it to both YouTube and Facebook. And then I paid for a Facebook ad to boost the video to homeschoolers living in California, and I watched the audience demographics on my YouTube channel to see if there was any discernible increase in the number of people watching from California. And there was some increase, which was encouraging, but the total number of overall views was still plummeting steadily, and I kind of felt like I'd invested in advertising that was equivalent to saying, "Hey stranger, I'll give you $1 if you like my Facebook page." Oh, what was I doing? Was I pouring my heart and soul into a void, or was this just an expected and normal part of any entrepreneurial endeavor? Clearly, I needed a vacation. So we took one. We hiked to beautiful desert waterfalls and explored slot canyons. Some of the canyons were so narrow, they only had space for 1 foot at a time on the canyon floor. It was rejuvenating and really refreshing to have a good amount of time outside. And then, a friend sent me a notice about a company who was looking to hire someone to make educational science videos for kids. My rational side was like, cool. My emotional side was slightly more enthusiastic. So I applied for the job, thinking that there would be this ideal synergy of Science Mom joining with another company to bring more awesome science to everyone, and I didn't get the job. I felt defeated. Rejection always stings, and this one happened to arrive the night before I was scheduled to fly out for the BlogHer conference in Orlando. I really just wanted to stay home instead. If my life were a movie, this would be the turning point. Science Mom goes to BlogHer conference, even though she doesn't want to. And there she meets John and Hank Green, the Crash Course brothers, and they tweet out her videos. And starts the snowball effect of more subscribers and patrons, and 10 years from now the sustainable eco-villages Science Mom designed replaced suburbia and saved the planet, and it's all thanks to the fact that she went to a conference even when she felt like she'd rather stay home instead. But life is not a movie. The Green brothers were at VidCon in Los Angeles while I was at BlogHer in Orlando, and complimentary tweets from awesome people don't automatically lead to saving the planet. I did have a great experience at BlogHer though, and I learned a lot of things, including the word zine, as in little magazine. I'd been making these foldable books for 6 months, and I had no idea that the print books yourself on a copy machine idea was a thing, but it is. They're called zines, or zines, depending on who you talk to, and there are zine conventions and a whole group of people who are totally enthused about miniature books you can print yourself. Who knew? The world's an amazing place. Oh, and remember that 1-minute trailer that I made back at the beginning of the month? I had 2 copies of the same video, one on YouTube, the other on Facebook, and the views for these videos looked super different. After the initial ad ran out, the Facebook video continued to have a much higher number of views, which was interesting. I learned a bit more about the difference between putting content on YouTube versus Facebook at BlogHer, and also some great tips about marketing. You'll probably see more about that in the next couple months, but let's go through the month by numbers real quick. One science video in June, taught one science lesson as a volunteer in my community, gained 2 new patrons on Patreon. Our YouTube channel had 24 new subscribers, which brings us up to about 250 in total. And thanks to my fabulous patrons, earnings on Patreon were $103, which I used to attend the BlogHer conference. And the channel had a total of 707 views in June. If we're measuring things by numbers of views or subscribers, then the growth this month was lower than in previous months. But in terms of vision and purpose, I feel like this month brought a lot of positive growth. June was a month where my commitment increased, where I learned more about how to grow my platform, meaning how I can reach a wider audience so I can share science with more people. I learned things about how to produce videos more efficiently and effectively. As far as actual time to work goes, that's pretty much absent until mid-August, because it's summer. So it might be a while before you see the fruits of all this learning, but it'll come. And that about wraps it up. As always, thanks for watching, work hard, grow smart, and I'll see you next time.